to dumb Russia to screw everything up. Last night it was the Olympics. Tonight it's gas. Bernie Sanders says it's not inflation, but corporate greed. I got to stop doing the Fauci. No, I can't do it. Okay. They're sending gas prices skyward. And Bernie's half right. Gas pricing is notoriously opaque. And it's really easy for energy cartels to huddle together to keep things tight and prices up. But it's not the only factor, as crude oil accounts for about half the cost of what you pay at the pump. Russia puts out about 10% of the global oil supply, and their Ukraine shenanigans have traders spooked, who sent the price of Brent crude up 1.6% today to $94.81 a barrel. Even with Putin's phony de-escalation, the very thought of Eastern Europe being marred in a hot war is enough to give market Nellies the yips. Several Democrat senators in tight races are floating the idea of a gas tax holiday, which would quickly lower fuel prices a little bit and score political points. But don't tell the commie squad this. People actually like it when they pay fewer taxes and things are affordable. Now, if you did that long term, you couldn't create new entitlements and go on multi-trillion-dollar spending jags. You'd have to drastically reduce the size of government and let people keep their own money. That means you'd have to trust them to make their own decisions. But voters are dumb and need constant minding from the nanny state, so we can't have that. Right, Ilhan Omar? Until we get off this filthy fossil fuel addiction and let a robust alternative energy sector flourish and save the world, the U.S. will have to pick up the pieces with our delicious liquid natural gas. Do you know we are the new lead global supplier? Gargle that, Saudi Arabia. Ooh! Europe likes our cleaner shale because it's cheaper than that pinko Russian swill Putin is selling. And just wait till they get their hands on our thorium nuclear reactors. Unicorns, eat your farts out. People are still using combustion engines, and until we found a sweet solution, we can't unnaturally back ourselves into a corner by limiting energy supply or refinery options. High energy prices suck. But my hope is some basement-dwelling, tinkering genius, hopefully a libertarian, is using her physics brain and limited social skills to come up with plentiful clean energy so we can tell all the oil tyrants from Russia to Riyadh to go away and huff their own butt toots. Until then, ride a bike, take a walk, borrow a Tesla, and stop electing the domestic version of energy tyrants who think big, dumb government is the solution to every problem they create. And that's the memo. All right, here's the tweet from Bernie Sanders that has Republicans rolling their eyes. Quote, shock, shock. Gas prices are at the highest level in 7 years, while ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, and BP made nearly $25 billion in profits last quarter. The highest level in over 7 years. The problem is not inflation. The problem is corporate greed, collusion, and profiteering. Of course, the problem is never inflation, according to Democrats. But then, why were the corporations just as greedy under President Trump? None of it makes sense. The party panel is back. Annette Stepman, Juan Williams, and Brad Palumbo. People do not like high gas prices. The two things I know people hate, Annette's high gas prices and masks. So take it home, girl.
Look, it's true, it's half true, as you said, that it's not fully inflation here. Inflation is a factor, but an even larger factor is the fact that Democrat policies have increased regulations and lowered the incentive to actually create more natural gas. So this is something that was totally predictable. If you go back and Google it, you can see all kinds of Wall Street Journal and Forbes articles predicting that we would have a gas crisis this winter because of those policies. And then, of course, this stuff between Russia and Ukraine is additionally raising those gas prices. But ultimately, yes, the solution to a lot of these things is for America to actually embrace the fact that we have an enormous, reservoir. Sorry, I can't say that word. We have enormous resources here in America, and we don't need to rely on Vladimir Putin, and we don't need to rely on Riyadh, as you said. We actually have enormous domestic reserves that basically we are deciding, because of politics, not to tap, and that ultimately hurts consumers, particularly people who can't afford a giant gas bill.
No, and the gas tax, one, that's not a long-term solution, because Democrats aren't going to take a holiday from taxes long-term anytime soon, sadly.
Well, I don't think anybody wants to do that. I mean, it would be a temporary fix, and it really, yeah. I don't think anybody wants to say we don't have a government. We don't pay taxes. And the reality is here, I do think Bernie's onto something when he says there's a lot of greed at play by these big companies. I think they understand that they, at this point, can squeeze us. So, yeah, of course, government regulation is a reality. You can make the argument about the balance between developing alternative energy, and I think you said that, Kennedy, that we do need to develop more clean energy and the rate at which we do it. But you have to also understand that these big companies know that right now, you know, there's nobody to fight them back. They just do what they want to do, and I think it's ridiculous.
Well,
I think even Republican governors don't want you drilling off their shores.
I wouldn't mind, Brad. You?
Yeah, I think this entire notion is silly. I mean, in 2020, at one point, gas prices were under $2. Were the corporations just feeling generous and extra nice, and they wanted to give every American a little discount? Of course not. That's not how prices work. Whether it's Bernie or Juan, this is not how economics works, folks. Corporations are just as greedy 5 years ago as they were today. There are a lot of factors that go into gas prices. Some of them are international and beyond any president's control. But it has something to do with inflation, it has something to do with anti-energy policies, and it has absolutely nothing to do with corporate greed. That is just a convenient deflection for Democrats.
Yeah, and it is some of these energy policies that will not only hurt our economy, it will hurt people, the free market, coming up with solutions that will truly save the planet. You know, we're beholden to this idea of the Green New Deal and the Greta Thunbergs of the world, but they don't have a basic grasp of economics. And when you understand economics, you understand human beings, and you want to help people and lift them out of poverty and give them a proliferation of choices, including the stuff we already have and the stuff that we will one day have that will only get quickly if government gets out of the way. Now, meanwhile, if you think President Biden is out of his mind now, wait till you hear about his early years. What a doozy. Yesterday, he shared a very bizarre anecdote from his time serving in local governments. Listen to this.
I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, "There's a dead dog on my lawn." And I said, "Well, I'll get him in the morning." She said, "I want it removed now. I pay your salary." So I went over. I picked it up. She said, "I want it out of my front yard." I put it on her doorstep.
Wow, they're really eating that up. You can tell his minders are behind him, just gobbling clonazepam with their Tito's. Sounds like Sleepy Joe was the original Antifa. So is this what Democrats meant by putting the adults back in charge, Inez?
Well, every time Joe Biden tells one of these stories, you have to try to guess whether it's actually true or whether he's lying. And it's usually worse if he's not lying. This is definitely in that category. But one of the things in the Guardian story that went viral over these comments is that it points out that this part of his speech he told in response to saying why he ran for Senate, because it was too difficult dealing with problems like dead dogs on lawns, so he failed up into the Senate. I think that says a lot about, you know, career politicians in this country and what kind of caliber they are when they decide to run for Senate.
Yeah. So, Juan, you've covered a lot of presidents, Democrat, Republican, you know, Bernie Sanders when he ran as an independent. If you were sitting down with President Biden, would you tell him to leave the dead dog on the doorstep anecdote in the speech?
No. You know, I think for Biden, he sees it as authentic. And, you know, Inez picks up on this, that a lot of politicians don't like dealing with local people and picking up the trash and picking up the dogs and all the rest of it, and they fail up. And I think that is true. But I would say don't tell it for the very reason that apparently people see this as indicative of bad character. I think it's just the kind of hijinks that, you know, young people in politics do all the time. But you know what? I don't know. I'll leave it to you to interpret it as you like.
I don't know. I feel like dogs are sacred, Brad. and I love them. And
The dog was dead.
yeah, but that's still bury it. Don't put it on some mad lady's doorstep. That's just weird. It's cruel. It's sick. And if he's reliving that, and that's one of the things that gives him his jollies, then maybe we should rethink a few things, huh, Brad?
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. It reminds me of the corn pop story where you have no idea if it's true. It's a little, I just honestly think it's hilarious. It is bizarre and very weird and not what I would want my elected official to do. But that's Joe Biden for you. And for me, this actually cements something more important, which is the fact that we need to stop electing 80-year-olds to be president. We should not have your great grandpa rambling about crazy stories from 1940 when it be the president of the United States and in charge of the nuclear codes and regulating everything about our lives. Yeah. We need a maximum age on the presidency, and we need it yesterday because we can't have people who are this backward looking and ancient in charge of this country for too much longer.
Yeah, it's there are two things that are really scary here. One is he said, I used to give people my number. They don't even let me have a phone anymore. Number one, who are they? I really want to know who they are. When he references they, who are they? That's
His
number
handlers.
one. Yeah. Number two, he is making the decisions. Someone who is like Cuco Loco is making the decisions. And he's got his little bony fingers hovering above the nuclear football like it's a Ouija board. That should terrify everyone. All right, Party Panel, it's so nice talking to all of you. Inez, Juan, great to see you. Brad, handsome as ever. Thank you all.